once believed that you accidentally stumbled into the life of a narcissist, that it was just bad luck, an unfortunate chapter in the story of your life. But the truth is far from that. You were placed there, not to be broken, but to awaken. Why you? Why did it have to be you, the one with the genuine heart, the one who loved wholeheartedly, who simply longed to be seen and loved in return? You might have thought it was a punishment, but today I'm here to tell you a truth that might shake you to your core. You are not a victim. You are living proof that transformation is real. The narcissist didn't choose you by chance. They chose you because they saw the light in you before you even saw it in yourself. They recognized your kindness, your empathy, your ability to love unconditionally, and they tried to twist those very strengths into weaknesses. But what they never expected is that you would rise from the very storm they brought, stronger, clearer, and unshakable. This video is not just an explanation, it's a wake-up call. A bell ringing through the fog to remind you that the price you paid was the first step toward reclaiming everything, your worth, your voice, and your future. If you've ever felt lost, if you're searching for a reason to keep going, then stay with me until the end of this video, because somewhere in these words, you might just find the answer you've been waiting your whole life to hear. And before we begin, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because this isn't just a video, this is your journey, and you're not alone. Reason 1. Because you forgot who you are. The narcissist didn't choose you because you were weak or unworthy. They didn't come into your life because you were fragile. They came because you had spent so long abandoning yourself that it became second nature. That forgetting wasn't loud, it was silent, it was slow, it was subtle. And they were simply the last one to touch the door you had already left unlocked. You forgot who you were. Not in one dramatic moment, but in 1,000 quiet ones. When you swallowed your tears just to keep the peace. When you smiled while your heart was quietly shattering. When you said, "It's okay," just to avoid being a burden. When you silenced your intuition because someone once told you you were too sensitive. Over time, you stopped living as your true self. You lived to adapt, to be chosen, to be accepted, and right then the narcissist entered your life like a storm, not to love you, but to expose the parts of you that had been buried for far too long. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." You called them fate, but in truth, they were a sharp mirror reflecting every unhealed wound within you. Wounds from childhood abandonment, wounds from families where love came with conditions, wounds from a society that praises kindness but punishes boundaries. The narcissist didn't just see those wounds, they sensed them. They used charm like a master key, unlocking your heart, the one quietly crying out, "See me, love me the right way." But instead of love, you received manipulation. Instead of healing, you received doubt. Instead of being understood, you became the one constantly explaining yourself. And you endured it, not because you were foolish, but because somewhere along the way, you learned that real love required sacrifice. That true connection meant enduring pain. Until one day, the truth became too loud, too blinding to ignore. Awakening rarely comes in moments of calm. It shows up in the wreckage, in chaos and tears. When the narcissist twisted your reality, when they made you question your memories and your emotions, this wasn't just abuse, it was a wake-up call. Dr. Brené Brown, a leading voice in emotional healing, once said, "Owning our story and loving ourselves through that process is the bravest thing we'll ever do." So don't blame yourself for losing your way. Know this, the moment you started asking questions, the moment you whispered, "I can't keep living like this," you took the first step back to yourself. Coming up in Reason 2, you'll face a truth that's not easy to accept. The narcissist wasn't a curse, they were a mirror, reflecting the fears and false beliefs you've been carrying far too long. And only by looking directly at that reflection can you finally break free? Reason 2. The narcissist is the clearest mirror reflecting the wounds you try to hide. The narcissist isn't just the one who hurt you, they are the clearest mirror reflecting the emotional scars you've tried to bury for years. They don't create the wounds, they simply uncover what was already there. They touch your fear of abandonment. They poke at the belief that you are only worthy if you are useful, pleasant, obedient. They press where it hurts, not to heal but to control. And when you're manipulated, when you're met with silence, then criticism, then sweet words that lull you back in, you fall into a loop with no end. Part of you knows this isn't right. You know love shouldn't drain you, but another part, the part shaped by past pain, clings to the only connection that makes you feel valuable. That's when the relationship becomes addictive. You don't stay because you're happy, you stay because you no longer know who you are without the role of saving someone else. Dr. Ramani Delvasula, one of the foremost experts on narcissism, once said, "Narcissists don't attract weak people. They attract people who are strong but who have been trained to put others first at the cost of themselves. And that's you, strong, empathic, but taught to put yourself last. The narcissist didn't pick you randomly, they were drawn to your light, but they also took advantage of the shadows you didn't want to face. And the chaos they brought, the cycles of affection, hurt, apology, then hurt again, eventually left you with no way back. You either keep repeating the same cycle, or you look directly at what you've been avoiding, the truth that you've been living to be accepted, not to be authentically yourself. The moment you stop trying to change them is the moment you begin changing yourself. When you stop asking, "Why did they do this to me?" and start asking, "Why did I believe I deserved it?" that's when healing truly begins. And while this truth is hard to accept, it's the only path that leads upward, because if you don't acknowledge the cracks in your soul, you'll keep putting bandages on relationships that require deep healing. And in their toxicity, the narcissist becomes the unintentional catalyst pushing you to your limits, so you can no longer live half alive, no longer hide in silence, no longer pretend you're unworthy of real love. Coming up next, we'll dive into reason 3. The turning point where everything begins to shift. When you stop chasing love and start redefining it. When love is no longer something you beg for, but something you choose, with clarity, boundaries, and an unshaken heart. Stay with me. This journey isn't over, and you are the one writing the next chapter. Reason 3. A chance to redefine what love truly is. The third reason, perhaps the most transformative of all, is this: you were placed in that relationship so you could redefine love. Because before you met the narcissist, chances are, you never truly asked yourself, what is love? You loved based on what you had witnessed, what you were taught, what you had endured. You called sacrifice love. You called emotional exhaustion devotion. You called chaos and turbulence passion. And when the narcissist arrived, they gave you all of that, confusion, highs and lows, dependency, and made you believe this must be real love. Why? Because it felt intense, consuming, familiar. It mirrored what you'd seen before, somewhere in your childhood, your culture, relationships, your culture. But then something in you began to stir. You started to wake up. You began to realize that love isn't supposed to drain you. Love isn't supposed to require you to trade your self-worth for someone's inconsistent presence. Love is not about becoming someone else just to be allowed to stay. And the moment you began to question that old broken definition, that's when everything started to shift. The narcissist always made you believe you needed them. That love meant dependency, that giving without limits was noble. But when you begin to redefine love, you realize real love never asks you to abandon yourself in order to keep someone else. Real love is where two people meet as they are. No masks, no shape-shifting, no self-erasure. You start to understand that true love doesn't make you smaller. It expands you. It doesn't fill you with doubt. It brings peace. It isn't a guessing game where today you're their world and tomorrow you're invisible. It's consistent, transparent, respectful. When you walk away from the narcissist, you're not just walking away from a person. You're walking away from a distorted ideology of love. You're leaving behind the belief that if I love enough, they'll change. You're shedding the habit of justifying the unjustifiable, and then you enter a new space. A space where you love yourself, not because you're perfect, but because you are inherently worthy. No permission, no conditions. The miracle isn't that they come back changed. The miracle is that you no longer need them to. You no longer search for love like a thirsty wanderer in the desert. You choose love from a place that is full, healed, and clear. And from that place you begin attracting a different kind of connection, built not on fear of loss, but on the freedom to exist as you are, not to fill a void, but to grow together. In the next section, we'll explore a truth that has brought many people to tears. The narcissist didn't just show up to test you. They came to end a generational cycle. And when you rise, you don't just set yourself free, you set free everyone who comes after you. Stay with me. This journey isn't over. Reason 4. A chance to end a generational cycle of emotional wounding. This is the reason few people dare to admit, yet it's the foundation of the deepest transformation. You may not have realized it, but even before the narcissist walked into your life, you were already familiar with what they brought. Punishing silence, unspoken expectations, conditional love, and the ever-present fear that if you weren't good enough, obedient enough, pleasing enough, you'd be abandoned. These patterns didn't begin with them. They started long ago, perhaps in your family, with your parents, in an environment where silence was praised as well-behaved and expressing emotions was labeled selfish or dramatic. The narcissist didn't just hurt you in the present. They reawakened pain that had been suppressed for years. They were the final storm that blew the dust off everything you had carefully buried. And in the chaos, a truth emerged. I'm not just reliving my pain. I'm carrying the pain of those who came before me. And you, whether consciously or not, had been playing out those old scripts. You learned to shrink to avoid being scolded. You learned to smile to hide your pain. You learned to give everything to feel like you were enough. And the narcissist, with their instinctive, predatory precision, sensed that and used it. They made you the target of control, manipulation, and emotional conquest. But this is not where your story ends. This is where the story changes direction. Because you, in the middle of that storm, woke up. You dared to ask questions, you dared to say enough, and in doing so you became the first in your lineage to break the cycle. You no longer silently endure like those before you did. You no longer teach your children that love must cost you yourself. You no longer tell yourself, maybe I deserved this. You stopped. You chose differently, and in that moment you didn't just rescue yourself, you rewrote the emotional legacy for everyone who comes after you. Healing is never easy. It requires you to stare into raw, unfiltered truth, to confront wounds you were taught to ignore. But it's that very courage, not theirs, but yours, that changes everything. In the next part, you'll uncover the final reason. One that, once understood, will forever shift how you see your pain. Because it was never a punishment. It was a rebirth. It was the moment you stopped waiting for someone to save you and began becoming the one who saves yourself. Reason 5. A chance to fully grow into who you were meant to be. Maybe throughout that relationship you waited. You waited for them to change, waited for them to recognize the damage they'd done, waited for a real apology, a sign that they truly loved you, that they finally saw the sacrifices you made. But the apology never came. The change never arrived. And the longer you waited, the deeper you sank into a spiral of doubt and pain. Because the truth is this: Healing will never come from the one who broke you. It begins the moment you realize that trying to patch a sinking ship isn't resilience, it's self-destruction, and eventually the cost of living in emotional limbo becomes too high. You finally understand, no one is coming to save you. No one is responsible for seeing your worth if you're still refusing to see it yourself. And the moment you choose yourself, not because someone told you to, but because you know that not choosing yourself is the deepest betrayal of all, that's when the chains begin to fall. Renowned psychologist Nathaniel Branden once wrote, "No one is coming to save you. This life of yours is 100% your responsibility. And the moment you accept that truth, you are no longer a victim. You become the one in power. You stop trying to make others treat you right. You simply keep those who already do. You no longer need to prove anything because your existence alone is already the answer. You stop saying, 'I just want to be loved,' and instead declare, 'I will not accept anything less than real love.' You stop clinging to those who don't know how to keep you, and instead you choose to keep yourself first. And when you walk away, not in rage, but in quiet, grounded clarity, that is the moment you step out of the role of the wounded and into the role of the sovereign. You don't need them to come back. You don't need closure. What you need is to give yourself permission to move forward. And the beautiful truth is, you can do that right now. Because when you awaken, when you choose yourself, when you pause to realign your entire internal compass, not only does the narcissist lose their grip on you, the universe itself must respond to the new frequency you now embody. Remember this, the truth is never the end of your story, it's the beginning. And the rest of that story, you are the one who gets to write it. This time, not out of fear, but out of freedom. The journey you've walked, though filled with heartache and challenge, is not a tale of failure or abandonment. It is living proof of your inner strength, of a soul that weathered emotional storms many would never dare face. The wounds you carry, the moments you felt lost, uncertain, shattered, they were all part of a deeper process, a return to self, a reclamation of worth, a relearning of what it means to love, honestly, fully, and without self-erasure. You've endured days where self-doubt seemed to be all that remained. You may have questioned what you did wrong, why you were treated that way, or whether you were even worthy of love and respect. But pause, just for a moment, and look at how far you've come. You didn't just survive, you evolved. You learned to rise from ruins, to build healthy boundaries, and most importantly, to see that your value was never up for debate. It doesn't rest in someone else's hands, it lives in you. The relationship with a narcissist, though deeply painful, was never a curse. It was a mirror, one that reflected the parts of you still waiting to be healed, the old wounds needing care, and the false beliefs that had to be broken. You were never placed in that situation to be destroyed. You were placed there to be awakened. Through every tear, every moment of doubt, you slowly began to realize, love is not self-sacrifice, love is not endurance, and love is never the denial of who you are. Love begins with you, with how you treat yourself, how you honor your needs, and how you respect your own heart. This path is not linear. There will be days you feel powerful, ready to rise, and there will be days you feel tired, where all you want is to hide away. That's okay. Allow yourself to rest, but never forget, you didn't come this far just to survive again. You are here to live fully, boldly, with all the joy, passion, and brilliance you were always meant to embody. Every step you take, no matter how small, is a declaration that you're choosing yourself. You're choosing a future no longer shaped by the pain of the past. And that future, it starts now. And it belongs to you. Remember this, healing is not about erasing what happened. It's not about pretending the scars don't exist. Healing is about learning to wear those scars like medals, proof of your resilience, your strength, your survival. You don't need to go back and fix anyone or anything. The only person who ever needed healing was you, and the miracle is, you're already doing it. Every time you set a boundary, every time you say no to something that doesn't honor your worth, you are rebuilding yourself, stronger, clearer, more aligned with who you truly are. When you begin to love yourself, not just with words but with action, with discipline, with listening to your inner voice, you are sending a powerful message to the universe. I'm ready to receive the love you deserve. Ready to live a life no longer defined by old wounds. Ready to step into the best version of yourself. This is not a destination, it is a journey, a daily practice, and each day you have the chance to choose again, to affirm that you are worthy of everything beautiful life has to offer. If you are in the middle of your awakening, keep going. You may stumble, you may doubt, but don't turn back. The path ahead won't always be easy, but it will be worth it. You're not just finding your way back to who you were. You are creating someone entirely new, someone no longer bound by the old stories, someone free in spirit and alive with purpose. If these words spark something within you, a light, a memory, even just a glimmer of hope on a dark day, hold on to it, share your story, or share what inspired you, because someone else out there is looking for that same spark of light. You are not alone on this path. There are thousands, millions of others walking it too, healing, awakening, learning how to love themselves and live as their truest selves. This awakening is not the end. It is the doorway to a new life, a life you have always deserved. So walk through it, with courage, with trust, with love for yourself. You've come this far. Don't stop now. Keep going, because the world is waiting for the brightest version of you.